The Romans gave their lives to protect their freedom from the grip of kings. But under what conditions did they willingly surrender themselves to the feet of one man? A brilliant politician, a ruthless general, and a darling of the masses, Julius Caesar. Join Tony Robinson as we explore how Caesar dismantled the Roman Republic piece by piece and reshaped history forever. In the final century of the Roman Republic, a world of marble temples and dusty roads was shaped not only by law and tradition, but by ambition, fear, and the hunger for power. This was an age when Rome ruled vast territories stretching from Spain to Asia Minor, yet remained deeply unstable at its core. The Republic, built on shared authority and a careful balance of power, was under immense strain. It is within this restless and dangerous world that Julius Caesar rose, not as a sudden tyrant, but as a product of Rome's political system, its military culture, and its long history of internal conflict. To understand Caesar's rise is to understand how the Roman Republic, once proud of its resistance to kings, slowly created the conditions for one man to dominate it. Gaius Julius Caesar was born in 100 BCE into the patrician Julian clan, a family that claimed descent from Venus through the Trojan hero Aeneas. Though noble in name, the family was not especially wealthy or powerful at the time of his birth. Rome itself was already divided between two political forces, the optimates, who represented the interests of the traditional senatorial elite, and the populares, who sought power through popular support and reform. These were not formal parties, but rival approaches to power, and they would shape Caesar's entire career. From an early age, Caesar was connected to the populares through his family. His aunt Julia was married to Gaius Marius, a legendary general and a champion of popular reform, whose military successes had transformed the Roman army, and whose rivalry with Lucius Cornelius Sulla would plunge Rome into civil war. As a young man, Caesar grew up in the shadow of this violence. When Sulla seized power and declared himself dictator, he launched brutal purges against his enemies. Caesar, connected to Marius by marriage and politics, was ordered to divorce his wife Cornelia, the daughter of a popular leader. He refused. This act of defiance nearly cost him his life. Caesar was stripped of his priesthood, his inheritance, and was forced into hiding. Though eventually pardoned, the experience left a lasting mark. He had learned that political power in Rome could mean life or death, and mercy was rare. It also taught him patience. Caesar would never forget the lesson that survival often required flexibility, timing, and the careful use of influence. After Sulla's death, Caesar began the slow climb known as the cursus honorum, the traditional sequence of public offices in Roman politics. He served first as a military officer in Asia Minor, where he showed courage under fire and earned the civic crown for saving a fellow citizen's life. Yet even in his early years, Caesar understood that glory on the battlefield was only part of the path to power. He cultivated relationships, studied rhetoric, and perfected the art of public speaking. Rome valued eloquence almost as much as military success, and Caesar became known for his sharp intellect and persuasive voice. One of the most dramatic episodes of his early life occurred when he was captured by pirates while traveling across the Aegean Sea. Rather than show fear, Caesar reportedly treated their captors with contempt, joking that he would one day hunt them down. After his ransom was paid, he did exactly that, raising a small force, capturing the pirates, and ordering their execution. The story spread widely in Rome, enhancing his reputation as a man of confidence and action. It was a small episode, but it revealed key traits: boldness, self-belief, and a readiness to act decisively. Caesar's political rise accelerated when he returned to Rome and entered public life. As a prosecutor, he attacked corrupt governors, positioning himself as a defender of justice and popular rights. He spent enormous sums of money on public games and spectacles, going deeply into debt to win the favor of the people. This was a dangerous strategy, but one that paid off. In 69 BCE, he was elected quaestor, gaining a seat in the Senate. Later, as a deal, he transformed the city with lavish public works and games, reinforcing his image as a leader who cared for the common people. Despite his growing popularity, Caesar faced strong opposition from conservative senators who feared his ambition. To overcome them, he forged alliances. The most important of these was the informal political agreement, later known as the First Triumvirate. Around 60 BCE, Caesar joined forces with the two most powerful men in Rome, Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus, known as Pompey the Great, Rome's most celebrated general, and Marcus Licinius Crassus, the wealthiest man in the Republic. Each needed the others. Pompey wanted land for his veterans, Crassus sought financial advantage, and Caesar wanted the consulship and a military command. Together, they dominated Roman politics through mutual support and pressure. In 54 BCE, Caesar was elected consul. His term was marked by aggressive reforms and open defiance of senatorial opposition. He pushed through laws distributing land to Pompey's veterans and securing favorable contracts for Crassus's allies. When blocked by traditional procedures, Caesar simply ignored them, setting troubling precedents. To his supporters, he was a champion of reform. To his enemies, he was undermining the Republic itself. At the end of his consulship, Caesar secured a crucial prize, command of the provinces of Gaul and Illyrium for 5 years, later extended. This command would change Roman history. When Caesar arrived in Gaul in 58 BCE, the region was divided among many tribes, some allied to Rome, others hostile. What followed was nearly a decade of continuous warfare. Caesar's Gallic campaigns were brutal, efficient, and immensely successful. He defeated powerful coalitions, crossed rivers thought impassable, and even led expeditions into Britain and across the Rhine. Through these wars, Caesar gained immense wealth, battle-hardened legions, and unmatched prestige. He also carefully documented his achievements in his commentaries on the Gallic War, written in clear, persuasive language to shape public opinion back in Rome. While Caesar fought in Gaul, the political balance in Rome collapsed. Crassus was killed in 53 BCE during a disastrous campaign against Parthia. Julia, Caesar's daughter and Pompey's wife, died shortly before, severing the family bond between the two men. Pompey drifted toward the conservative Senate, who now saw him as a counterweight to Caesar's growing power. Fear spread that Caesar, with his loyal army and immense popularity, intended to seize control of the state. Roman law required generals to give up their commands before entering Italy. As Caesar's term in Gaul ended, the Senate demanded that he return to Rome as a private citizen, vulnerable to prosecution. Caesar proposed compromise, but trust had vanished. In January 49 BCE, Caesar made his fateful decision. Leading the 13th Legion, he crossed the Rubicon River, the legal boundary of his command. By doing so, he committed an act of rebellion. According to tradition, he declared that the die was cast. Civil war had begun. Pompey and most of the Senate fled Rome, unable to resist Caesar's swift advance. Over the next years, Caesar fought across the Mediterranean world, from Spain to Greece, Egypt, and North Africa. He defeated Pompey at the Battle of Pharsalus in 42 BCE, despite being outnumbered. Pompey fled to Egypt, where he was murdered by local rulers seeking Caesar's favor. Caesar reportedly wept upon seeing his former ally's severed head, a moment that symbolized both the tragedy and the ruthlessness of Roman politics. Victorious, Caesar became the dominant figure in Rome. He assumed a series of extraordinary powers, eventually being named dictator for life. Yet his rule was not of simple terror. Caesar enacted wide-ranging reforms, restructuring debt, reforming the calendar, extending citizenship, and reorganizing provincial administration. He sought order after decades of chaos. Many Romans welcomed this order. Others, especially senators who cherished the republic's traditions, believed he had gone too far. The fear was not that Caesar ruled badly, but that he ruled alone. Rome had expelled its kings centuries earlier, and the idea of monarchy remained deeply hated. When Caesar accepted honors that seemed royal in nature, suspicion hardened into conspiracy. On the Ides of March 44 BCE, a group of senators assassinated Caesar in the Senate House, believing they were saving the Republic. Instead, they unleashed another cycle of civil war that would end not with restored freedom, but with the rise of Augustus and the Roman Empire. Julius Caesar's rise was not the destruction of the Republic by a single man, but the final chapter in a long story of institutional failure, ambition, and violence. He was shaped by the Republic's values and contradictions, and in mastering them, he exposed their limits. His life marked the transition from a world ruled by shared authority to one dominated by emperors. In the end, Caesar did not end the Roman Republic alone, but without him, it might have survived a little longer. His legacy remains one of brilliance, controversy, and irreversible change, a reminder that great power, once seized, reshapes history forever.